Do you want to say hi? No.
You sure, Jennifer?
Welcome back to another episode of A Girl Business Podcast. Today with me I have Alyssa. Alyssa is a wife, mother of 7, and the founder of Tiny Pine Foundation. Tiny Pine Foundation started as a way for her to give back to the community, building tiny homes for those affected by wildfires in California, and it has since grown into a huge, thriving ecosystem, all benefiting the community.
Thank you.
I'm super excited. I have like a huge girl crush on her. Also, she's certified muscle mommy, if I do say so myself. And yesterday was her birthday. So
Yes, the big 40.
yes, happy belated birthday.
I know. Thank you for my sweet gifts.
You're welcome. We had a turkey sandwich this morning for breakfast. It was delicious. And I'm going to let you take it back as far as you can, how you got here and where we're at today.
Yeah, so I lost my home in a wildfire in 2008. It was the Butte Lightning Complex fire. My oldest son was the only baby I had. He was 8 weeks old when my house burned, and it burnt in Concal, which is now the Camp Fire burn scar. And so when the campfire happened, I then lived in town, and I had a new baby by that time, so I had 3 kids total. And my new baby, Legacy, was 5 months old. And I gave food, I gave clothes, I gave the little bit of money I had. Back then, I worked at a nursing home nights and weekends. And I just felt so insignificant in the face of so much need. And I really felt like the Lord was telling me to do more. I just didn't know what else I could do. And for like 2 weeks, it would not go away. Finally, I went in my room and I prayed and I said, look, Lord, I know you're asking me to do something else, but what would you have me to do? And the Lord really told me to build tiny homes, and I almost fell off the bed. I even said it out loud. I said, I don't have money for that, God. And the Lord quickened me and said, look, I'm not, and I'm just paraphrasing, but he said, I'm not asking you to finance anything. I'm asking you to have faith for it. I thought, okay, I could do that. I could believe for it, right? And it never dawned on me that I did not know how to build anything. And so that never dawned on me for quite some time. So I got on social media that night and I told my friends I was going to build 10 tiny homes on wheels, like the one outside, with all volunteers and all donations. Because I didn't know anything about building, I thought I could do it for $5,000 each. I reached out to a single mom that lost her home in the campfire in Concal and said, hey, I'm going to do this. What if we build you a tiny home? And she was like, sure. So I started a GoFundMe that night. I woke up the next morning and we had fully funded the GoFundMe. And I was just like, okay, we are doing this, right? Like people are going to support this. And then I went to do my dishes, and this really negative self-tape was playing. Like, you're stupid, you can't build anything, people are depending on you now, right? Like, what are you going to do? You don't even have anywhere to build. Like, what do you know about this? And so the negative self-tape played like the whole 20 minutes I was doing my dishes. And I dried my hands, and I was just like, I just shook my head, and I said, you know what, Lord, I'm just not going to listen to that. I'm going to choose to believe that what you told me to do is what we're going to do. And I opened up my email, and there was an email from a lady that said, hey, I heard what you're trying to do, and I want to send you the money to buy the first trailer. And so I was like, all right. And there were all these confirmations along the way that were like a shot of B12 in my arm, but for my faith, right? So I found this trailer frame because back then I didn't realize that I could get people's old dilapidated camp trailers and just tear them down for the frame. So I found a frame like all the way in Modesto. I borrowed my mom's car, I went to Walmart that morning to get magnetic trailer lights, right? And I saw my friend and I told him, and he's like, oh, I already saw it. Maybe I think my boss has somewhere for you to build. I'll ask him and I'll get back with you. So I go to Modesto. This trailer is like 42 foot long. These trailer lights do not fit at all. Only one of them is working. I just bought them, right? I never towed anything that big before. So I'm going like 40 miles per hour on the freeway the whole ride home. And every person I pass, I'm like, you see me? I'm doing this, right? Like I'm towing it, you know? And so it took me like 5 hours to get back when it should have took like 2, 3 maybe because I was driving so slow. So I lived in a triplex on the corner of Pine and Montgomery. So I parked my trailer frame out in front of the triplex. And my neighbors were like, oh, are you building a tiny home? I said, I am, for somebody that lost their home in the fire. And so it was so cool because I was worried about them complaining about it. So I was so glad they were on the same board, right? So what felt like 2 weeks, I don't remember how long it was, messaging trying to find a place I can build. We don't have no money to rent anywhere to build somewhere, right? And in the meantime, I'm watching YouTube videos, a little over 2,000 YouTube videos to learn how to build, right? Like how DIY tiny home, how to build on a camp trailer frame, and all of these things, right? And then my friend that I saw at Walmart calls me and he's like, hey, my boss said you could build on his property. Little did I know he owned the old Ford dealership that's been closed for like decades here in town. So he owned the old lot in the back of the Ford dealership, and it was all gated. It was all gravel, literally 1 block from my house. And so I met him over there. At the time, I couldn't even open the gate. I slammed my finger in the gate, right? And so I'm still working nights and weekends. I pull my first trailer frame over there, and I started building December 26, 2018, the day after Christmas. And I had my little $5,000 we raised from GoFundMe for that house, right? And then what I would do at night is I would lock myself in my office, which really was my bathroom, so the kids wouldn't bother me. And I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a laptop, I just had my iPhone, and I would be on the iPhone nonstop, posting in every group, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, come help me, right? Donate a Home Depot gift card, or these are the supplies I need. So my mom donated a 90cc generator. It's a really small one. It's enough to charge one battery and run one circular saw. Because back then I only had corded tools because that's what people donated. And half the time I couldn't get the generator to start, and half the time I didn't want people to see that I couldn't get the generator to start, right? And so in the beginning it was really defeating because I didn't know how to do anything, right? And I'll never forget one day I was trying to build the wooden frame attached to that trailer frame. The generator wouldn't start. I could not get the 3-inch screws to go in, but I only had a drill. I didn't have an impact back then, and I didn't know the difference, right? And so I lived right there. So I was crying, and I walked home. I said, look, Lord, I can't do this. You told me to do this, and I cannot do this. And the Lord spoke to me and said, you can't do it because you're saying you can't do it. And I said, okay, God. So I made a sandwich. I ate, have to eat, and I wiped my tears, and then I walked back out there, and the whole way I was saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I go out there, and the first time the 3-inch screws go in, the generator starts the first pull. Yeah, I quit. We were celebrating. We were getting tacos. I could do it all of a sudden, right? Same thing. When I framed a wheel well, and it was square, like it actually matched, I left. We got tacos. I was celebrating, right? Like we have to celebrate the little wins back then. So I always, when I tell the story, I always tell people, like, back then we were building, but I was learning how to build, right? And so every night I would go home and like watch these YouTube videos, like, what am I getting wrong here, right? And then we had gotten to a point where we had 2 builds going on, and there was nothing to do on either build except for install the windows. So that night I watched like 25-ish videos on how to install the windows, right? So then I prayed. I'm like, okay, Lord, I did my part. You're going to have to show up tomorrow, right? And I get out there and I'm like him-hawing around only because I just didn't want to mess it up. I feel at that point, I feel like window installation is pretty important. Like we don't want leakage, right? Mm-hmm. And I did not know that these volunteers were coming. They had seen one of my Facebook posts, Ben and Mary Ann, and they came all the way from like Nevada City. They had like a 3-hour drive or something, and I didn't know they were coming. And then when I'm talking to him, and he's like, well, what are we doing today? I'm like, well, we got to install these windows, but I never have before, right? And he's like, well, I used to be a window installer for a living. And I'm like, get out of here. Jesus sent you today, right? And so those two have become lifelong friends of mine since then. They've come back so many times. They came to my wedding. They bought me a little hammer that says, I love building memories with you. Aww. And they made us our first toilet because we didn't have a porta potty back then. We had a Conex container, so they made me a 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat and a pool noodle and like a bungee cord with toilet paper. It worked, right? For a little bit. And you got to start with what you got, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I was at Taco Bell and I was trying to get my kids some food, and this guy called me and he just asked me all these questions, and he was so serious and he sounded like the district attorney. And so I was like, dude, let me pull over. I'm in Taco Bell, like, hold on, right? And he's like, well, are you a nonprofit? And I wasn't at the time, right? I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm just a mom. I'm just trying to help. I feel like, I'm called to build these homes, and that's what I'm trying to do. And he's like, good. Sounds good to me. I'll help you. I want to fund 6 homes. Yeah, and I started crying.
Oh my
I was like, "Are you
gosh.
serious?" Right? And he's like, "I'm so serious." He actually owns High Hand Nursery in Loomis,
I
Scott.
love that place.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my
He
gosh.
is one of the biggest philanthropists at heart. He believes in helping people one on one. And so he would send me the money for one build. I would send him all my receipts. He'd send me the money for another build. I'd send him all my receipts. And then he came out. He had some special families he wanted us to build for. The rest of them he let me pick. But if it weren't for him believing in me in the beginning, I could not have helped the families that I helped with those, right? And I'll never forget that conversation because literally I was not going to be surprised if he was like, "I'm the district attorney," right? Like he was asking
Shut
questions
it
like
down.
that. Yeah, and I was like, "Let me just help you out, but I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm a mom. I work nights and weekends, and I'm just also trying to do this." I think it was just so probably radical that it took a minute for people to get behind it. And in the beginning, I knew that if I could just build one and people could see just the one, right, that people would get behind it. And that is what happened. So Scott funded the six, and we had that donated build site. And then people kept coming and like donating tools and donating supplies. And then people from across the country heard about what we were doing and started reaching out. So we had the first year, we weren't even nonprofit back then. It was still just the project, right? And the goal was 10. And I didn't think we'd get past the 10 because that seemed huge back then, right? Because I didn't know how to build nothing. And so then these guys reached out from New Jersey. They call themselves the Jersey Boys. They came for 3 days. They all wear matching outfits. The deal was just that we feed them, which was a lot of hot dogs. Thankfully, somebody donated all that food because it was a lot. Somebody made chili. Somebody else made like well, because some people's gifting is food, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I love about this ministry, it started this way, it's always been this way, is that we can all do something with the part that we're gifted at, right? Like you don't have to be a builder. This is your gift. You're getting the word out, right? When we used to have like big volunteer build offs or competitions or whatever, other people that had a food ministry would be like, "Well, come feed the team." And I had a lady from Jackson County who remodeled her ginormous, beautiful kitchen and sent me all her drawer pulls in the mail. It was enough to do 7 houses. So it was one less thing I had to buy, right? Like I was telling you earlier, our board president, way before she was our board president, is a fabulous salsa maker. That's what like Boo is known for. So now she does Boo's famous salsa every year as a fundraiser, and that's a big part of her contribution. We can all do something, right? And I think it's like I think it's really like any big community led project, grassroots project, is that we don't all have to be good at the same thing. We don't all have to contribute the same thing, but we could all do something, right? And so that was like pivotal in the beginning, everybody doing something. It's still pivotal today. And then I learned so much from the skilled volunteers that would come, right? Because, all I had was YouTube. So YouTube and then trying to put it into practice. Well, that doesn't work like that. And so we had built and given away 3 homes, and we still had 7 homes under construction. And there was already like 500 people on the waiting list. And I remember going out to the build site and just walking around the lot. And back then we had all lot and no warehouse. So it was like tiny house emporium because there were so many under construction, right? So no matter how many people came, there was always something to work on. And I remember walking around the lot and just feeling the heaviness of the need and talking to the Lord and saying, "Lord, this can't be it. This just can't be it. There's so much need that I did not know that there was going to be." And that day, this lady from Lutheran Social Services called me. They don't even have services here, but she lives here and she's the executive director and had seen me on the news. And she said, "We want to help. We don't know in what capacity, but can we come out?" So I'm like, "Yeah, come out." So I gave her the tour like I do for everybody else. And very nonchalantly, before she left, she said, "Well, we're going to fund 10 more homes at $7,000 a piece instead of the 5. And we're going to give you $5,000 to start your nonprofit." I just cried. I was like, "Could you say that again? Could you hug me?" Right? Like that was unreal. And then I was crying after they left. It was just like mind blowing. These things happening every day, right? In this pursuit of building these homes for people. And then it dawned on me, I can't take a personal check for $75,000, right? Like, I can't do that. And so luckily, my good friend Jerry Handy, he's my friend now, he wasn't back then, had seen me on Facebook. And he has a nonprofit in Yuba Yuba Sutter called the 4G Foundation, and their whole mission is filling in the gaps wherever the community needs. And they had raised money for campfire support, and he had some that he really felt like the Lord told him to earmark and save. And so him and his family had come out and took a tour of the tiny home emporium, right? And they thought that okay, we're going to partner with you. We'll build a tiny home in Yuba Sutter, and we'll use youth and do it as voc ed, right? So I called Jerry and I told him about the $75,000 Lutheran Social Services. I said, would you think about being my fiscal sponsor? And he didn't even blink. He's like, oh, we got you. And so they were our fiscal sponsor until, so we applied. It took a while because then I feel like, did COVID hit? Something happened. And ours took like way longer, twice as long than normal. So bless 4G Foundation for sticking with us for so long, right? Handling our money. Because there was a lot of donations coming in, like for building supplies or to fund a home. And that's a lot of tracking on their side, right? And so then we had to build sites. We built where we were, I feel like, for 18 months for free, which was a huge blessing. We moved next door, and then the Almeida fire in Oregon happened. We had a lot of supporters from Oregon, so everybody reached out and was like, hey, can you come build here? But it's not as simple as that, right? So we did go there with a semi truck. And provide some disaster relief assistance. That was actually mine and my husband's first date, was a trip to Oregon to do disaster relief assistance. The semi met us up there full of supplies, relief, drive-through distribution. I was still putting those items on top of people's ash-covered belongings in the back of their vehicle. And that really hit me, right? That was really overwhelming. Beyond that was the number of people that came out. I feel like we served a little over 500 cars that day. That doesn't count families. And so we have a really big supporter there, Terry Ward, who's been instrumental in so many things that we do. And she had a property that is an acre parcel up there. And so she was like, hey, you could build here if you want to build for my community. And so that took a big thing out of the equation of going to build there. And then she also had this pretty much brand new camping trailer that sleeps 10 and was like, you could also stay in this if you build here. So it took two big pieces out of the equation that would have been financially prohibited for us to go build there. And then we met an awesome guy who did a bike marathon to raise money for 4 houses up there. And so I said, okay, we'll go build there. So I would build here all week. And I worked my night job, and then I would drive up there Friday night, build Saturday, build Sunday, drive home Sunday night. And then I had 2 babies in the course of building up there. I took them both with me at like 8 weeks old. We met other volunteer groups up there from Forward Edge, and there were volunteer groups that could come there more than they could come here, right? And so those people that we gave those houses for, it was so meant to be. Like, that was the divine appointment. It was life-changing for those people, and I was so grateful we did it, and I was so grateful when we closed that build site, because that was a lot. Going to Oregon every other weekend to build, it was a lot. There was a lot of challenges because I have a huge network here. I didn't necessarily have it there. I had to create it, jump on social media, join all the Oregon pages, like, hey, I'm here to help, come help me build. And then we moved here. And I told you that story a little bit, right? We had to move out of where we were because we were building in an area that wasn't zoned for that building, and the city wasn't going to renew our special use permit, which is just, they blessed us with it for 2 years. I didn't feel any type of way. So there was one building up the road from here. It had a dirt floor, and at that time we didn't have a store. I had like all these donated storages full of donated stuff because we furnish every tiny home, and some of it, like I said, is like way too big to ever go in a tiny home. So I wanted to open a discount warehouse, not a thrift store, because we have a lot of ministries in town that have awesome thrift stores. And so I looked at the other place, and it just was like not what we would have made it work. If I had to, I would have made it work. And then the realtor called me about here, which is 2 huge warehouses. Are we going to do a tour?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you'll see it.
100%.
2 huge warehouses. So nice. The only people in here before us was Cal Fire. There's a real office, like real bathrooms. We only had a porta potty before this. Well, at the toilet potty, right?
Toilet potty. Yeah. Bucket potty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I meant. And so I looked it up on Google Maps when the realtor called me, and I seen how nice it was, and I was like, oh, we can't afford that, but I'll go look. And so halfway through the tour, I was like, how much is it? right? Like, how much is it going to be? And little did I know, the owner knew me and knew what we were doing and loved us. And so he had knocked a couple $1,000s off the rent. And when the realtor told me that, I just cried. I was like, could you hug me? Can I hug you? Right? Like, we will do it. So I did sign without telling the board because I knew Jesus was opening the door. And like I said, we literally only had enough rent to pay for like another month and a half when we moved in here. And that was almost 4 years ago. So that has been like a real big confirmation. I'm so glad I signed that lease. I'm sure the board agrees with me now. We've made it work, right? But the store, I wanted to open the discount warehouse because, especially in the nonprofit world, if you think that you're going to survive off individual donations alone, that's really hard to do. I've seen very few nonprofits do that. You really do have to have residual and additional streams of revenue, even if they're tiny, right? You're not going to live. We don't live off 6 fundraisers a year, which seems huge, but it's just not enough. And so that's why you see bigger nonprofits like Salvation Army and all these places that also have thrift stores. They also have these income producing revenues. Just so that you can do what you need to do to help the people. And so I wanted to get 2 like wholesale pallets. I don't know why I thought 2 would be enough. And so I ended up buying a storage full of somebody else's liquidated truckload for like $3,000 or something. And that was like a good amount. And when we brought it in the store, it was like literally enough to fill up like 1/4 of the store, right? Luckily, we did have all those awesome like donated things that we never would have used in the tiny home. And so it kind of rounded it out. And then I was like, Lord, we have got to find, like, I got to figure out how to get a liquidated truckload. Other people do it. We've got to find out how. And so somehow I found this great place, and that has been like an awesome thing for us. And so because we save so much money on getting the load, I try to pass the savings on to the community. And so we would not have survived if the store was not open. We would have closed our doors a long time ago. We also have a Poshmark store. One of our yes,
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
yeah, and it has good stuff. We have a board member whose mom was like high into fashion, and so I mean, there's like Fendi on there, there's Chanel on there, that you're getting like at a bargain, right? All kinds of,
gosh.
and it supports a great cause, right?
Right.
And so shout out to our board members that run the Poshmark store because it's a lot of work, right? Taking the pictures, doing the listings,
Yes.
doing all the things. But in the beginning, when I mentioned it to the board, I was like, we got to come up with these other sources of revenue, right? And so some months it's been great, some months it's a little, but it all adds up. And I think that some people think I'm crazy when I do fundraisers online and I'm only asking for everybody to give $2, but there's power in numbers. There's power in unity, right? I've seen it from the very beginning. We don't all have to do a bunch, but if we all did a little bit, it makes up to what we need, right? It's so impactful. I still believe in that today. We just did a $2 birthday fundraiser for my birthday. And if half my friends on Facebook gave $2, that would be super impactful, right? So then we moved here, we opened the store, and we've been here almost 4 years, and we still get people every week that don't know about us that live here in Orville, probably because we're not on the beaten path, right? Like we're in a different district. It's not like you're walking into us like you would the shoe store, right? You got to look for us. And so sharing about the mission or sharing about the store is really helpful, right? So we use volunteers to run the store Wednesday through Friday, 9 to 3. And then I try to do one Saturday sale a month. We give away 25 free store credit. Sometimes I give away free planner boxes. Sometimes it's a $50 free store credit. I mean, life's expensive for all of us. And so if we can just share the love a little bit and help get the word out, I feel like it's a win-win. Yeah, and so the store also still gives discounts to fire survivors. And so it doesn't matter what fire. So it could be Dixie Fire, could be Park Fire, right? Just bring in something with your name and fire impacted address, and we'll get you signed up. You get free $25 from the store credit or 50% off up to $300. You could use either up to 3 times.
Perfect. So it started with the building the homes, and then you said, okay, we got to start making some money. So you did the store, you have the gala, you have the Poshmark.
Yes, yeah.
And you have the gala coming up, so tell us about the
Yes, yes.
gala.
The gala is our biggest fundraiser of the year. This will be our fourth annual gala. We do a theme every year. Last year was Monte Carlo. Super fun. We had gaming tables brought in from Sacramento. We had a 360 selfie booth that everybody loved. We do custom cocktails with the theme. And so we had like 42 raffle items last year, dessert auction. Tina Makua from Good Day Sacramento has been our guest MC for at least 2 years, 3 years that I can think of. Last year we had Marilyn Monroe and Dean Martin impersonators, which were fabulous. This year we have Ralph Gordon is a solo jazz band and he's fabulous. This year's theme is Old Hollywood. So, and if you saw the decorations, we have a board member. Her name's Kim. She originally came on a mission trip from Washington. Loved my story so much, they flew me out to Washington to be the speaker at their women's retreat. And then she drove back down to help us with the gala. We said, you got to be part of the board, right? And she is the crafting queen. Like she joins every Zoom meeting we have. We have a Zoom board meeting once a month. She joins every one from her craft palace. It's like a whole, if you saw it, you would know. It's very organized. Like it's a whole craft palace. You would know. And last year with so many people, I barely got to say hi to everybody. And like the board said, people want to see you. They want to take a picture with you, right? And so this year, we're trying to make a shorter but very impactful program. I'm going to go and do interviews with the people we gave houses to and say, like, what does this house mean to you? What would you have done? Because the houses are the most important thing we do. And then a friend of mine who's in LA is actually a movie producer, and she's going to put together a clip for us out of the, which is huge for me.
It'd be beautiful.
I hope so. I hope so. And so, because last year we showed the documentary Rebuilding Butte, which was great because half the room had never seen it. And that one is really emotional. That one will cause you to be like, I can do something, right? I can do something. And so that one was great.
So, I mean, you're running. Oh, and also I want to touch on the fact that your board for the nonprofit, you said, is all women, right?
All women. Always been all women. Probably, God willing, always will be women. I just feel like an all-women board is better for us with me as the executive director and the builder because I have 7 kids. And because I do all of this, I feel like it's a lot easier for them to understand everything that I have on my plate because it's definitely a juggle. Something's got to give at some point in time, right? And also, when it was time to build a board, and I asked the Lord really told me to invite women to the board that believe in me and believe in this mission. And we're so blessed that we have a working board. All of those women hustle their booties off to figure out raffle donations or, posting stuff or I'll take care of this or I'll volunteer here. We only have I want to say 3 women that are local, and then the other one's like she just retired from the board, but she just moved to Hawaii. They were on the board since the beginning. Michelle was anyways, and they have a show that's called Dads That Cook, and they travel the world cooking with regular dads that cook.
Oh my
Yeah, they're in
gosh.
Paris right now. They're the coolest. Yeah, they're the coolest people ever. Michelle, she coaches Fortune 500 companies.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and so she has stayed on as in my mentor capacity. My time with her is priceless. I love her. She gets all this higher level stuff that we have to deal with, and she has so much wisdom to speak into so many situations, right? And she's just such a blessing. And then Lisa, our board president, lives in Sacramento. Sherika, who is our treasurer, lives in Colorado. And so and then Kim, she lives in Washington, right? We usually get together for the gala, and this year looks like everybody's going to be here. So we're really excited for that. Yeah, the gala is our biggest fundraiser of the year. Last year we raised $30,000, which for our tiny nonprofit, even though we always say people probably think we're bigger than we are, right? We appear big. When you come here, it looks big. It looks like a big ordeal, but we only have the equivalent of one and a half staff. I'm full-time, Jen's half-time, and that's it, right? So we're tiny but mighty. Thankfully, we have the working board and then the volunteers that come and help in between. But last year, We did have a responsible managing officer, which was a general contractor, because in the beginning, when I started building and we actually turned into a nonprofit, the Contractor State Licensing Board did not require volunteer rebuild organizations to have a contractor's license. It wasn't until I feel like 2021 that they implemented that. So then all of a sudden I was scrambling, right? Like I had new builds that were real builds on a slab that were just about to happen, and I needed a contractor's license. And I was actually stocking our mini fridge in the office, and our volunteer shepherd walked by, who's a retired veteran, and it dawned on me that he used to have a contractor's license. So I bolted out the door. I'm like, Shepherd, didn't you used to have a contractor's license? So we paid for him to go retest. He came back on as a volunteer, but he had to be on site 32 hours a week, and that's a lot. So he did it for a long time, about a year, and it was kind of just, it was too much for him. And so I was so grateful for his service, but he gave me a notice, and like I only had 60 days to find a new one. And I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? I asked like 5 men that I know, would you be our RMO, our volunteer, contractor? And everybody was a hard no. And that was like on a Friday. And I thought I was going to have a breakdown on the weekend because I was like, God, what am I going to do? We didn't need it to make money. We just needed it so we could build the houses for these people, right? And then and then Sherika, she's on our board. She works for a place that helps contractors get licensed. She just happened to be going on a 7-day work retreat with the director of CSLB. And she said, well, I'll talk to him about you. So that was on a Friday. And then Saturday morning at 7, she texted me and she's like, well, I talked to him about you at dinner last night, and he said we could get you licensed. No problem. I cried. I was like, come on. Well, because all this time, the CSLB, even though I had the years of building experience we needed, you have to have 4, and a certain amount of projects, all the receipts, all the things, right? They never would take my experience because previously it had all been so niche. It had all been tiny homes on wheels, not real homes on foundations. Well, it's different now. Now we build the tiny homes on wheels and the tiny homes on foundations. And so they approved me to take, I had to apply. They approved me to take the test. I studied for the test. I like crammed so hard because I had learned off YouTube and from skilled volunteers, right? So I may have known how to do it. My way to do it might have been different than the book for the contractor's way to do it. So I had to merge the two, right? And my math to figure out the rise over the run for a house's pitch is not what they say you should do, but I get the same result, right? So I really had to marry those 2 things. And I don't know what happened, but I scheduled my test. I thought I was scheduling outside of Sacramento. I scheduled my test way down in the Bay Area. So I had to leave at like 4 in the morning.
Oh,
Yeah, it
on
was
the day of a
horrible.
test.
Yeah. And my husband got stuck with dropping off all the kids in 5 different places that like went very hectic that morning. Okay, I was getting calls. And then there's 2 tests. So there's the law part and then there's the actual like building part. So I passed the law part, no problem. I had brought all my snacks. I go down and I'm cramming in the car with my snacks till the building part. And I go in there and I take the building test, and there's probably a solid 20 questions that I just learned while cramming in the car, right? Yeah. And so, I passed, and I just cried like a baby. I cried because I was like, come on, God, now we don't have to hire anybody else. Now we could just use my license to build the houses for the people, right? And I called everybody. I was crying, and they were like, oh, you didn't pass? I said, no, I did pass. I'm so grateful, right? Because it was such a huge deal. I think for me, it just felt different because I didn't want it so that I could make money for myself. I needed it for us, for Tiny Pines, so we could still build for people in need, right? It was a monumental moment. And then, so that was last January. So I told the board, we're going to open a for-profit construction company because as a contractor with your license, you can open up to like, you can be the RMO for 3 different corporations. And so we opened a for-profit construction company under the nonprofit umbrella, just like the store is a for-profit under the nonprofit umbrella. The only thing is with Tiny Pine Construction Company, you could hire us like you'd hire any other general contractor. We come in at the same rate, if not cheaper, because we're not trying to make an arm and a leg. You still get quality building. The difference is the funds from your job help us to build a home for someone that can't afford to ever rebuild. Like what a win-win is that, right? So we opened the Tiny Pine Construction Company in March. By July, we broke ground on our first custom square foot, our 750 square foot home in Paradise in partnership with the Town of Paradise First Time Home Buyer Program for a senior lady that couldn't afford a traditional mortgage. And so it made affordable housing possible. She got a beautiful custom home. We made $62,000 off that build, and I was able to help 3 underfunded homes in Berry Creek. I mean, that was like, I was so proud, right? And it was a lot of work. There were a lot of partners involved in that. But I still say, like, if you're going to hire a contractor, hire us, because not only are you getting a quality job, if the funds from your job are going to help other people that could never afford to help themselves. And like, that is the biggest win. So,
How amazing,
yeah.
girl. You're doing
Thank
so
you.
much cool stuff.
Thank you.
So you taught yourself all this construction from YouTube, but I mean, it's very apparent that you're very business savvy.
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you.
and as soon as you said it's under the umbrella, I was like, oh, this girl knows what she's talking about. So was that YouTube University, or where did all this business sense come from?
So I did go to college a little bit. A lot of what I went for was business classes, so all of that, helped. But when I started the nonprofit, when the lady gave us that money to start the nonprofit, I really immersed myself in the nonprofit world because I didn't want to ever mess up Tiny Pine, and I was so worried to take any steps with not having all the knowledge involved because I didn't want to take a wrong step unknowingly. And so we hooked up with the Center for Nonprofit Law. They're out of Oregon. That is kind of like our legal team. And I think sometimes when I say that, people are like, why do you have a legal team? Because you need the information to be able to make the moves, right? All entrepreneurs are risk takers. The thing of it is, you have to mitigate the risk, right? And the way you mitigate the risk is by having the information and making an informed decision. And the Center for Nonprofit Law has been fabulous because before I opened the store, I probably sent them 200 emails like, hey, how do I do this? Can I do this? Right? Because I wanted to use all volunteers to run the store. I had to have a store manual, a layaway policy, all these things that sound like you can normally create. But if you're doing it under a nonprofit umbrella, there's so many things that come into play. And then I wanted to be able to have the knowledge base so that I could freely do fundraisers and know what was, legal for us and what wasn't. And so we paid, I feel like it was minimal. I feel like it was $800, and we did a 2-part training on nonprofits with the Center for Nonprofit Law. And that was worth every single dang old penny. I mean, it was so informative. They covered every area of like what you can and can't do, monies you can and can't take, right? Like what's required if somebody donates something to you that they value over $5,000, because it happens, right? And so then I kind of became this own nonprofit guru, right? Because I wanted to do all of these things so that we could survive as a nonprofit. And the fear of not having the knowledge kept me from making some moves that time. So I just was like, I got to figure this out. Like what's legal, what's not, right? And so sometimes you can do the deep dive on Google and figure it out, but sometimes you need a professional. I also joined this couple really great groups on Facebook. Nonprofit for Newbies is a great one. There are some seasoned nonprofit professionals in there. And then I used to work for a nonprofit community action agency for about 5 years. And so I did learn a lot about nonprofits working for them. And so, yeah.
It's like everything you've done previously have led
Yes.
up to Tiny
Yes,
Pine.
I agree. I would concur.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. And then also something that I want to touch on. You just had your birthday yesterday. So
Yes.
happy birthday
40.
again. What's it like? How do you feel? I know something that really stuck out to me is you said that you made a commitment to like reinvest in yourself and make you time because this foundation is very much give, 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 give. So how do you replenish yourself after all that?
Yeah, and so this November, we've been building 7 years. For the first 6 years, I will not lie, I work almost around the clock because we have lots of different social media pages. I am the all everything to the people we build for. So because we're not a traditional build time, I open myself up to them probably more so that I'm always here for them because it takes longer. I feel bad. So whatever and I'm okay with that. Right. But when it's you and it's your dream and it's your baby, then you have to do what's required, whatever it is, whatever the hours are. Right. but even more so when people are relying on you. And I never want to let anybody down, right? And so my kids have given up a lot. I do miss a lot of stuff. I have for the last 6 years. It's just been the thing. And I'm grateful that they understand it. I'm sure that they're not a fan of it just like I'm not. But there's a give and a take, right? I try to make it up to them in other ways, but I hope that they also see it's for a cause, right? They get that it's this person would have never had a home if mommy didn't miss this or if mommy didn't do that. But this last year, I promised myself that this year I would make more time for myself, right? Because I do for everybody else. Being a mom of 7 is enough in itself. I do for all of them before I do for me. And the same thing with Tiny Pine and the people that we serve. There's a lot of times my family, we ain't going out on the water because I got to work, right? We have to build. If volunteers pay to come across the country to build for free, then I'm going to make myself available whatever days they're here, so we get the best use out of their time, and so do they, right? And so there's this really big balance. I've had a wonderful board over the years that's always concerned about me, concerned about burnout, always trying to make sure I take time for myself, which I always listen to. I think that's, wise advice from caring people that care about me and that are my friends, but I'm the one that has to determine that. And if there's no one else to do what needs to be done, I have to do it. And so normally in the past, what I've done is take a big break in December because that's a slower building time. Christmas is there. Normally I take 2 or 3 weeks off then. But before January, I was feeling a little bit of burnout, and I had promised myself that I would take time for myself this year. And so I really quit drinking alcohol for quite a while. I've dried out quite a bit, which was a huge benefactor into me taking more time for myself. Really dialed in on my food this year, been counting all my stuff, and I really made a point to get back into the gym. And I will tell you, I have had to fight tooth and nail every day to make sure that I make that hour for myself, right? It has not been easy, but it has been so worth it. It has made such a tremendous difference in my personal well-being and how much I'm able to pour out for everybody else that I serve. And I got to shout out Jen, our office manager that you met here, because sometimes I don't get that early morning gym hour, right? The kids can only go where they got to go at a certain time, right? And I have to be here at a certain time. So Jen will cover for me. I'm like, Jen, I got to go to the gym, right? Even if I just squeeze in 45 minutes, my whole outlook is better. I've tuned out all the white noise. I've come back and I'm refreshed. And so for me this year, that has been the biggest difference, especially turning 40. I promised myself I would start pulling it together, right? Physically, mentally, on all the angles. And I really do feel like I'm pretty close to the best version of myself I've been in quite some time. And so that I think is pouring out into everything else, right? Yeah.
Definitely. What advice do you have for women that maybe want to start a nonprofit or want to take some time for themselves but maybe feel guilty, or just any advice for any woman that might be watching?
Yeah, if it comes to taking time for yourself and you feel guilty about it, I think that you have to do it. You have to make the time. You can't say I don't have time, because that was my excuse before. And that's not true. I take the time that I need. Other people are going to understand. And if they don't, then they'll get with the program. And if it comes to starting a business or starting a nonprofit, one thing I see, and I did become a certified life coach this year, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
we
so,
can touch on that too.
yeah. So I have 4 life coaching clients. I did not know, Shelby, that it was going to be so rewarding. Internally,
Is it?
yes, so internally rewarding to have women be vulnerable, sit with their hopes and their dreams and where they're really at, right? And then make a plan with them, like a feasible, doable, actionable plan, right? And then get to cheer them along as they start shouting out those goals. I have a sign, I think it's in the bathroom right now, but it says Goal Smasher. I think that there's nothing better that you can do for your mental health than set goals and reach them and smash them, right? It's like a shot of B12 in your arm. You're like, oh, I got this. Let me do this, right? And then it builds and you think, oh, okay, I'm empowered. I am more self-confident and more self-aware. I could do this too. Why can't I? And I think that's why we start so many new things around here, because I'm like, oh, we could do that. We've done this. We could do that, right? We
Yeah.
gave away 52 homes. We could do that, right? Sometimes it doesn't dawn on me till we're in the middle of it. I'm like, why did I say we would do this, right? Why did I think it would only be this? But yeah, so what I would say that I have learned in this process, in this tiny home journey, and my own journey in the tiny home journey, and then being a life coach to people that have goals that a lot of them relate to their health, their spirituality, and then building a business or building something, is that you have to start. Sometimes people think that they have to have all the right equipment or all the right things or all the money. And one thing I learned when I started building tiny homes that I thought that was wrong is I thought I needed all the money for one home at one time. I don't. I only need the money for the next step, right? And so that really applies to businesses too. Like, I just really need the money to do the next thing. Don't open up a brick and mortar until you have so much stuff going on, so many orders going on that you can't feasibly do it. Right? That is your push to the next level. That's your push to growth. Like, here, we're so squished, and everybody's always like, oh, you need a bigger place. I'm like, no, we don't. We can sustain here just fine. If it's only 3 months out of the year that my inventory is overflowing and you can hardly get in here, then that does not signal to me that we need a new building. If it were 12 months out of the year that we have so much stuff, not people in a line out the door and everywhere, then we probably need a new space, right? But at this point, it's probably 6 days a year that we have a line out the door and people waiting in the parking lot, right? Which is fabulous. I'm not complaining about that, but it's not enough to spend the financial revenue that's going to take to get you to a bigger place, because then you still have to sustain that, right? And you always need to be thinking about different streams of revenue for your business. It's really important. And sometimes people will disregard the $50 a month or the $60 a month. But honestly, all those add up. That 50 and 60 is 110. That just paid my phone bill. So all those things are really important. And that has really been integral to the success of our nonprofit. A nonprofit operates just like any other business does. What people don't realize is that we still have the same expenses every other business does. We don't have less expenses because we're a nonprofit. We still pay sales tax on the stuff from the store, right? And so you still have to operate in a way, but that you're already thinking about, like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to stay afloat? What else can I do? But I would say so many barriers to people starting something is them. It's in your own mind, right? Just get out there. If it works, it works. Fabulous. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you can start again, right? That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
So let's talk about your life coaching a little bit, because I feel like life coaching has definitely become a popular topic lately. But for me, if I were to go to a life coach, you need to have a life that is worth coaching,
Correct.
which I absolutely feel like you do. So tell me a little bit about what the training was like, or maybe like a big takeaway from it.
Yes. So I did an online training course. It's 30 hours. There were so many great takeaways that are stuff that you can implement with people in conjunction with, what you've learned in your life. And that's what I feel like about life coaching. I'm not hiring a life coach unless you have a life I want, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a
Unless you
perfect way to
have
say
built
it.
stuff that I would love to get there. And honestly, I have mentors. You could call one of them a life coach, because she is. Just thankfully, she blesses me and I don't got to pay her.
Yeah.
But she has a life I want, right? And she continues to help me and undergird me and give me ideas and suggestions and all these things that help me get to the next step, right? Because great lives don't just happen. They're not built overnight, right? You have to consecutively show up for you, even when you don't feel like it, and show up for your goals, right? So one of the things I do with my clients is we really set SMART goals. So ones that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And so I always have people make a vision board. I bring them the board, right? But you want to talk about, like, what is something that you've always wanted to do? Most people have always wanted to open their own business or work for themselves, right? Maybe financial freedom. But what are you doing to get there? Some people can't even put together the steps to get there. And so if you can partner with a life coach that has done it and can say, oh, you want to become a licensed photographer and open a photography company? Well, let's get you a license, right? That's going to be our first smart goal, right? Let's get you a social media page. Let's get you a branding, like all these things that you would think would be intuitive, but when you have someone that's right there holding your hand, walking you through it, it just makes your success level even more achievable, right? I know when I have two mentors, one that lives here locally and the one from Hawaii, and those ladies, I mean, they inspire me, right? And they talk to me about here when I'm here and I'm trying to go here, right? Because I still have a lot of big dreams, a lot of things I'm trying to accomplish that have nothing to do with Tiny Pine, even though this is a big enough ministry in itself, right? Yeah. But those women are instrumental into my life. And so I didn't think that if you asked me 3 years ago, I probably didn't realize the value of a life coach. But then if you get a life coach that is living the life, that is goals for you, I mean, you're going to go from here to here a lot faster than you would by yourself. And it's so great to have somebody in your corner that gets the struggle, right? And is telling you, it's okay if you got donated equipment. It's okay. I mean, don't despise small beginnings, because half the battle is in our head sometimes. And we think, oh, like I didn't want to be seen, not even being able to start the generator, right? But I was like, forget it. I'm still doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a pride thing, but whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that something you see a lot of people just not knowing how to conquer the small steps to get to a big outcome?
Yes. Yeah. Like how do I get from here to here? Or so many people have so many things that they want to do in their mind, but never actually take action on them. And that action step is the important step, right? And so having someone to hold you accountable, like, hey, did you call the city? How much is the permit, right? Like, and then that it really is just having somebody ensure that you're successful. I mean, if the doors open up, fabulous, but they're not going to open if you don't work for it, right? If you don't pursue them. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, you said that you have some exciting plans. Any plans that you could share with us, or any 2 or 5 year visions that you have for yourself or for the foundation?
Well, I promised myself 3 things this year. I really wanted to do my Frenchie dog breeding, and I got blessed with 2 Frenchies last year that are papered. They had their first litter in January. All those dogs found good home, and so we opened our little Frenchie rain kennels, and so that was the big one. I really wanted to get on my gym madness this year, and I have, and so you can follow me if you're looking for gym inspiration. And then
She's yoked.
with a good pump, and then this year, hopefully later this year, I'll be launching a new clothing line. Yes, it is for a busy working moms and busy women. And so it's a lot of activewear and workwear for women in the trades, because right now, if you walked into Home Depot and you need a work shirt because you work in the trades, you're only going to be able to pick a men's shirt or a unisex shirt, right? And I don't want a giant baggy men's t-shirt.
With a collar.
Yeah, right. All the Milwaukee stuff that's in there is for men, and so, so it's going to be a workwear and a like an activewear line for busy moms.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
How exciting, girl.
Thank you.
How
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah. I've really been working on that. And so to speak of my mentor, life coach, whatever, she is the one that plugs me in with like, how do I get my manufacturer? Because they already have a distribution and they sell their dad's that cooks knives. And so having someone that had been through that process to hold my hand, like, hey, this is how you're going to find your manufacturer. This is how you're going to get them to, manufacture what you need. This version of what they make, that's what you need, and all these channels, right? Because I wouldn't have known where to start. I mean, sure, a little Google dive, but that I had done that. It wasn't enough, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been a really like a work in progress for me, behind the scenes. The life coaching thing was a big one that I wanted to do this year. I didn't even tell my husband I was taking the classes, right? Like I just wanted to do it for me, so that I could just empower other women to get to reaching all the things that they want to do in their life. We have one life and it goes by so fast. And there's nothing like being proud of you and your accomplishments and what you've worked hard to do, especially when your dreams are tied to helping other people, right? But even if it's the things for you, like I am so proud of my work. Like, did you see my birthday picture yesterday?
Yeah.
I'm so proud
Yeah,
of
I saw it.
of the work that I've done, right?
Totally have a crush on her. Hello.
Only so I could show up for you as my best me for me, right?
Yes.
And that carries, I think feeling like that carries out and pours out into everything else. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the photos were stunning. I'm going to put it in the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the only other thing I would say is if you want to get involved and volunteer, you don't have to know how to build. I will show you. There's tons of things that you can do. There's really still a very large population of people in our county and in surrounding counties that were fire impacted that still really need help. I'm really passionate about that. So if you want to tie into that, I think you're going to drop some links, right?
Absolutely. All the links will be in the description. Yeah.
And you can reach me and we will partner and we will bless some people and finish building some homes. If you're interested in life coaching, you can reach out to me. And if you have stuff that you want to donate to the store, we take donations.
Awesome. And be sure to buy a ticket for the gala.
Yes, November 15th is the gala. It is an experience. It's not just like a gala where you came and the food was good. It is a whole experience. There's the 360 photo booth. The gambling tables will be back. It's funny money, fake money, but we have prizes for the big winners. There is like a 350 person grazing table, all kinds of great stuff.
Sounds amazing.
It is. It's so much fun.
Anything else that you would like to share before we get into the tour?
If you're a woman that's interested in the trades, there's more women in the trades today than ever. Sometimes you will experience some flack, but you just got to let it go. But it's really important that we do get more women in the trades. You can build just as well as men can. And I think that there's a lot of women that would really love building if they got a chance to do it. So if that's something you're interested in and you want to talk more about it, I would love to have a conversation with you. I had no idea that I would fall in love with building as much as I do. I love framing a house. Installing windows is one of my favorite things. I don't like insulation. Drywall is not my favorite. Mud and tape is. But, there's so much to it. So even if you don't think that you're going to go on to be a general contractor, there's so much that you could do with a little bit of building knowledge, right? Like you could build your own DIY like business, all these things. And so if you are want some information about like building or the trades, just let me know.
Very empowering.
Oh, for sure.
So empowering.
I love it so much. Like when I go to Home Depot, one time this old guy said, "What are you going to do, sweetheart, with all that wood in your cart?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just going to go home and hang out with it. What are you going to do with yours?" Right? Like, I'm going to do the same thing with mine. You're going to do with yours, right? It's so great to show up as a woman on the job site and people have no idea. And then people are like, "Who's the general contractor?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's me." Right? And I'm always lovely about it. I'm not like any type of way about it. I have had a lot of shade from men in the trades. It's not everybody. It's not the majority. It's a small amount, right? But my favorite thing is just to knock them down with the knowledge, right? And I'm like, I don't think it's a 10-12, buddy. I think it's a 8-12. And if it masks like this, what do you think? Right. And so it has been super empowering to be a woman in really a man-dominated industry. And it's so wonderful when there's the majority of them that give you the space, that encourage you, like, get it, girl. One of my favorite things to do is building. Like, we're going to meet Papa Dave out there.
Yes.
Papa Dave has been building with it. My kids call him that. But he's been building with me originally as a volunteer for almost all 7 years. Dave was a framer for over 45 years. And I have learned so much from Dave. And Dave is always so cool. Like now we have a great building, like run it, money, shoot it, right?
Yeah.
And I have learned so much from that guy. But a lot of tips I learned from him about different things you can do when you're building by yourself, right? And then using blocks as like an extra set of hands. And Dave has been really empowering for me because he always teaches me and never is trying to tell me like, "Oh, I can't do that." He's always like, "Oh, Alyssa, have you thought about this?" I'm like, "Oh, good idea, Dave." Right. And so, I love Dave. So you guys are going to meet him.
Let's go meet Papa Dave. Thank you, girls, for watching. We're going to take a tour. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and share and all that social media stuff. And if you're looking to insert ad space in your local business and you would like to show your alliance for women's voices like Alyssa and myself.
Yeah, so this is our store, Tiny Pine Outlet. So we're like a discount warehouse. We do take donations. We just don't take shoes or clothes, but we have everything. So we get wholesale liquidated loads from like Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. So like all these are new Target clothes. Kids clothes are $1, grown-up clothes are $2, or you can fill a bag for $6. We have them out here and upstairs. And then like all these tubs came off a Home Depot load. They're $60 each. I know. If you are rebuilding or renovating, like this is the store for you. If you can find it here, it's always great to stop here first because you're gonna save a ton of money. And so we have a little bit of everything. Upstairs is mostly like clothes and bedding, pillows, sheets, but everything's new up there. Underwears are $1. I mean, we have Target bras up there that sell at Target for like $30-40. We sell them for $4. Yeah, you cannot beat the sales in here. So there is a ton of stuff. We try to organize it into like different little categories. But like I said, if you're, so drawer pulls, I gotta show you the drawer pulls because this is my favorite. So these are like almost $12 a piece at Home Depot and Lowe's. We sell them for $1. So if you are like remodeling, building, whatever, it's like literally worth the drive to come down here and see what you can find. And what we have changes all the time. And so we have a ton of cute fall and like harvest stuff if you're getting ready for that. We just got a Costco load in not that long ago. And so toys. Okay, so they're actually buy one, get one for $25. I know.
Her stuff is
Magnolia paint. I know. And so all of this is actually white and can be tinted. So what's really cool about that, right? We have tons of stuff. Tile, flooring, light fixtures. And what's great is that we get stuff from all the big box stores, where actually our local Lowe's in Chico, we're their preferred donation spot for this year. So they've been giving us all their stuff. I go every other week and pick up donations, and that has been a huge blessing. And so we slash the price dramatically. You buy it and it supports what we do, right? And so it's like a win-win. Yeah, so tons of fall harvest stuff, kitchen stuff, toys, building supplies. You name it. We have a little bit of everything. I'm here every day and I still see stuff all the time. I'm like, I didn't know we have that. All kinds of stuff.
Oh my gosh. Is this an espresso machine?
Probably.
Oh my gosh, girls.
Oh, I know, with your coffee.
Yes, me and my addiction.
Yeah, so if you follow the store's page, I always post when we get new stuff in. And my suggestion is always to come down right away because people come all the time and you gotta come right away if you see something good posted. So this is the store, and we actually have a bunch of interior doors right now. There's range hoods. Some of those range hoods retail for like $500-600 and we sell them for $75. So, and they're fancy. There's some really nice ones. Interior doors are only $8. They're always $8. Yeah, you can't beat that, right? So what we get always changes. And then, so that is our store. In the same building of the store is our office. Our office manager's in there. We have bathrooms. And then this is our, we build over here. And then in this other warehouse, I keep all of our supplies. So all of the stuff for our tiny homes on foundations that we're building in the different burn scars is over here. I think we might be locked up because Dave left. I'll check. And then like this is one of the tiny homes on wheels that we're building. Dave just drywalled it up. I always wanted to build one like this with a tower when I started, but I didn't have enough construction skills. And so now it's really exciting to see the tower vision come to life. And this is actually our first for-profit tiny home on wheels build. And so we custom built it for a really sweet couple. And the proceeds from this build will help me finish an underfunded home in Berry Creek for a Bear Fire family. And then these guys, we have some guys that are doing community service from Tri-County's treatment, And so they build these raised garden bed planters from reclaimed pallets, and then we sell them for $35 each. Yeah. This has been a really great fundraiser for us, and it's really fun. Oh, yep, we're open. Come on in. So it's really super messy because we just kind of drop and go over here. But like I said, all my tools for building are over here. What people don't realize, when you build with large volunteer groups, depending on the size of the group, I might need 20 drills and 5 of the same saw. There's another nonprofit called Operation Tiny Home in Oregon, and they're partners with Milwaukee. And if you do any kind of nonprofit work where you're building for the community, then they blessed us with refurbished Milwaukee tools. In Oregon, they gave me about $15,000 worth of Milwaukee tools. And what was great is they get that, we have volunteers that I might need 15 impact drills. There's no way in God's green earth that we would have had the money ever for those tools. And so that has been such a blessing, because before that, I just used donated tools, a whole mismatch, but we made it work. And so this is mostly all of our excess building supplies. A lot of times, a lot of our homes are underfunded. If I can come up with 75% of the funding for the homes, I'll go ahead and say, okay, I'll build it. And then I rely on material donations or monetary donations that come in to fill that gap to finish the home. So if we get good stuff that I could use in the homes that come on the load, then I snag it and bring it in here. It's one less thing I have to buy, right? And then we have some leftover disaster relief supplies in here. Leftover, excess stuff that still needs to go into the store, like that's a Christmas palette. Just a lot of stuff.
So cool.
Yeah, there's actually a lady in Quincy, Jules, from Angels Among Us, that donated that forklift to us. And we have used it every day. I needed it. I was borrowing people's forklift when we were doing disaster relief after the Bear Fire, and they probably hated to see me call because I kept having to call to say, and that's not an easy thing to borrow, right? And then she called me out of the blue, was like, hey, do you think you have a need for a forklift? I said, girl, I have a need. It's not a want, it's a need, right? Because we've hosted 12 disaster relief distributions up and down the West Coast, and that thing has been instrumental. And so I learned how to drive it on there. I'm not forklift certified, but I'm a pretty good driver.
And when is your store open?
Yeah, the store's open every week, Wednesday through Friday from 9 to 3. And then we do one Saturday sale a month, which is a pretty big deal. If you can make it to that, I try to do that so people from out of town or people that work a real job can come. You have to follow the store's Facebook page to know when the Saturday sale is. But you'll always snag some great deals during the Saturday sale.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a wrap, my dear.
Yay, thank you so
Woohoo.
much.